Okay.
Okay, guys, we are back a little earlier than we thought we were. Actually, about 3 minutes early, but we don't like to keep our guests waiting very long. We've got an old familiar face back on the show with us today. It's been a couple years. COVID happened and work schedules and whatnot, and believe it or not, we didn't know if the show was going to happen or not because we were kind of scrambling last minute because of work issues. And Coach over here jet setting to the West Coast. It almost didn't happen, but old contact Jack Rhodes helped us out here and facilitated everything and got everything done for us. Thanks, Jack, for helping us out there one last time, even all the way up there in Austin. We've got a guest on today that, like we said, we had on a couple years ago, and I don't think he needs very much of an introduction, but we'll do it anyways. Coach Todd Dodge, head football coach from the Austin Westlake Chaparrals. How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing great, guys. It's going to be a lot of fun being on here with y'all.
Yeah, like we said, it's been a while. For those of you who listened to Coach Dodge's show, what, 2 years ago, Spud?
2 years ago.
Yeah, and now you get to see him in the flesh. We've kind of expanded our show capabilities, now going the video format versus the thank you, COVID. That's one of the good things that came out of COVID, right? Is actually you guys getting to see who we're talking to, putting a face with the voice and whatnot. But thanks, Coach, again for coming on. We appreciate it. We know you're a busy guy. I don't think we need to do any further introduction. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. So most of you guys know, Coach Dodge, he can win some football games and he can coach some quarterbacks. And unless you were under a rock last season, guided the Westlake Chaparrals to another state championship. Coach, how many state championships is that for Westlake?
That is 3 for Westlake.
3.
2 by your right?
2 in a row, yes. The back-to-back, yeah.
So speaking of last season, right, and we kind of hit on it already with the introduction, it was a very different season. Obviously COVID was the big elephant in the room with everything changing and whatnot. Were there any up there in Austin, was there any thought that you weren't going to have a football season at all?
Sure there was, but we really didn't, we didn't let it come into our mind. I mean, in the back of our mind, players, coaches, there was always that fear, and it really was a fear because, our players and our coaches had worked so hard all summer long. And, we had kind of have a motto or a creed in our program is take inventory of things that you can control. And we try to take control of everything that we can control and don't pay attention to things we can't. Well, there's a whole lot of stuff going on in our world that we couldn't control, and it was pretty scary. A lot scarier than not playing a football game, but it was something that we loved to do. And it was quite concerning. And to be honest with you, I think our football team and our coaching staff were just absolutely remarkable last summer in getting everything done that we possibly could get done under the guidelines that were given to us and to get ready for that season.
Coach, what was that like having to improvise and find ways to connect to your team? How did y'all overcome that obstacle?
Well, like everybody else's state, I'll always remember it was March 13th, 2020, that's the official day for me in my mind that COVID hit. At least it started affecting the state of Texas in athletics, because I was on a trip up to the Dallas-Fort Worth area from an AD standpoint. And I was at watching our baseball team play, and their tournament got called off because of COVID, and we were on spring break, and we didn't know what to. We thought, well, we're going on spring break, and then our administration came up about the Friday before we were supposed to go back to school and said we're going to take one more week off, and we all thought we were going to, we're just going to take an extended spring break. And needless to say, probably, it would have been March the 12th that was the last time we saw our players pre-COVID, and that was the last day of off season before we went on spring break. We did not see our players again all together in person until June the 5th.
Oh, wow. Pretty good little gap right there. And Do y'all have spring ball?
Yeah, we do. We do, but we didn't have it.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the state of Texas shut down all the schools, and our school was shut down from a standpoint, and all our kids were going remotely. And we were meeting with our players every day during third period football and doing exactly what we're doing now and talking ball. And I was sitting right here where I am right now, talking to Cade Klubnik and Stoney McGuire and all of the rest of our quarterbacks and talking ball. And so that was the way of the world. And then we got to June and we were able to get them back together for summer conditioning. But we had to be so socially distanced. I mean, our weight room holds about 84 athletes, but we were only able to get 25% in there. So we were, approximately 20 guys at a time in the weight room. And so we were, having running groups through there all day long. I really credit my coaching staff to working their tails off during the summertime to keep our kids training during the summer. And then, when I was in the Coastal Bend last summer, I actually got to have my camp at GP last year. But while I was there during the camp, our entire the Austin area, the health department completely ended all summer conditioning. So our kids got taken away from us for a month, right around the middle of July to the middle of June. And so, and everything that I'm saying, I've got my stories. Every other coach, every other person in America's got their stories. So it's just, wow, the history that was made in 2020, 2021, unbelievable.
Yeah. And just like you said, you're not the only one, but going with that, did you notice any rust, coming into the season, anything abnormal than what you're used to seeing coming August, September?
I tell you, it was really, that was something we were concerned about. But once again, everybody else was going to be in the same boat. We didn't go through spring ball. There was kind of the running joke around the coaching community around the state was when we do get to play, our kids should know what to do, because we've had so many meetings on install offense, install defense. We've gone over and over and over their assignments via meetings. I mean, that's all we could do. We watched more video than I've ever watched in my life as a coach with players, because that's all we could do. And so the joke was, well, when we get them back together, they should know what to do. Now, they may not be good enough physically, or haven't, enough accuracy in them or enough speed and quickness in them to get to what they're doing. But our players, no, I didn't see any rust, and I probably was looking for, but we scored offensively. We scored 58 points a game. We averaged 58 points a game in our first 5 games of the season, and average giving up 6. So no, it probably was the hottest start that we ever got off to. And I think a whole lot of it had to do with our kids were so dialed in mentally of the what to do, that the how to do just kind of came naturally.
Is there anything from that y'all, implemented last year during COVID with the videos and meetings and stuff that you're going to keep moving forward? Or is there any UIL guidelines that are going to have to come out with over, I guess, having too much contact with your kids? Because I know you're only allowed a certain amount in a normal season, and last year was everything but normal, No,
the communication that we were able to have is awesome. And now, I'm a fossil when it comes to technology, but I can, now that it's over with and we really don't need the Zoom meetings anymore per se, but I can get on a Zoom with Cade during the summertime. If I've been gone on vacation and he's been gone on vacation and we're not in the same town, I can get on a Zoom with him. And we could talk ball and say, let's break down last year's, Austin Bowie video, because we do that all the time. Our field house right now is there's a lot of construction going on around our field house, so I'm not really able to bring anybody into my office. So yeah, I'm still doing what we're doing right now. Matter of fact, I've had a couple of coaches meetings, because it's convenient,
Yeah.
and so that's part of, the part of COVID that I guess was a plus.
It's pretty wild, right? Because this thing's been around for, I think, 10 years, right? And it took something like this for people to start using it this way and become more beneficial. I mean, this is how we conduct our meetings at work. It's
Yeah.
the same way. We use the same kind of setup and because we're still social distancing at work to an extent.
Right.
And so we all get on this video chat thing and
Yeah.
go with it that way. So it is actually pretty neat, and it's a beneficial tool. Things that, man, I mean, it just makes things easier, like you said,
Well,
Coach.
I tell you, if you live in the United States of America or in our world, you pretty much know what Zoom is and what video chatting is, because
Yeah.
that's all we had.
Yeah, it's like we're in 1984, George Orwell's
Yep.
novel. All now, right? And we're in 2021.
Yeah.
With that being said, let's talk about the playoffs a little bit,
Yeah.
Interesting run,
Yeah.
which ended in the Dodge Bowl, which we're going to take credit for because we called that 2 years ago, right, Spud?
Yep.
We did
call it the Dodge Bowl, right? I don't know if you remember that, Coach, but
Yeah.
just kind of when Riley got hired. I think that's when we had you on the offseason that Riley got hired.
Absolutely.
And
it would have been that next about 5 months later. Yeah.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a season opening game, correct?
Absolutely. It was, you talk about bizarre. A year before we were supposed to meet in the opening game of the season, the UIL at coaching school asked Riley and I to go to lunch with them and at coaching school, and we did, and they asked us, and both of us simultaneously said, no, we don't want to do that. It's not in the best interest of our family. It's not the best interest of our coaching staff, our program, and blah, blah, blah. We had all of our reasons, kind of selfishly, to be honest with you, head coaching wise, because we were going to have to do so much extra work to have to play each other. Because if you can imagine him being my son and me being his father, we talk a lot. And of course, and the signals are a lot alike. The verbiage at the line of scrimmage is a lot alike. I could take my quarterback and send him to Southlake Carroll, and he could send me his, and they could run our offense immediately. There would be no, it's the same stuff. And
Yeah.
Same thing with the middle linebacker. So, but, we came around and said, absolutely, it's in the best interest of our football team and our communities. And so we were ready to play each other at Jerry World. And then, of course, COVID hit, and that game didn't happen. And we, after it was all said and done, Riley and I said, well, the only way that we could meet in the state championship is if we would meet in the state championship. The only way we could play is we meet in the state championship. And I said, well, that's not going to happen because I'm going to go Division II and you're going to go Division I. So pretty much all year long, if y'all can imagine, a son and his father that coach our coaches, well, we talk ball all year long. We tell each other,
no secrets.
No, there's no secret. I share ideas with him. He shares ideas with me. He gripes and moans about some of his personnel. I gripe and moan about some of my personnel. He knows everything good, bad, and indifferent about my team, and I know the same thing about his. And now I'm playing that guy in state championship game. So that was, and so
who ran your offense for you in the state championship against Westlake, which I thought was
that was a throw up game, right?
Yeah,
yes.
That was a throw up game. Yeah.
And Riley, that's the last time that Westlake and Southlake Carroll had met in a state championship game, was when he was the quarterback for. Yeah, that was a lot of storylines to that game.
Yeah. So
and it was a heck of a run by both teams to even get there, because they faced Duncanville, and y'all had to go against North Shore, who've been two of the arguably top dogs in that Division I the last couple of years. They
expected everybody, the experts, expected a rematch, right?
No doubt.
Game 3, right?
No doubt. Well, I'm not so sure Riley and I felt like, because we're still talking ball and sharing ideas in the week of the regional final game, when I'm playing Steele and he's playing Trinity or whoever he played for the regional final game. And and then when we beat North Shore and he beats Duncanville, those are probably two of the biggest upsets on one day in Texas high school football history.
Definitely. Well, I mean, that's for the greatest for the greatest programs to me, when you look at Texas high school football as a whole, Katie's up there for me as well. But, Westlake, Southlake, Duncanville's of late, North Shore's of late. I mean, that's the big names in that group. So yeah, when we were watching it and I was keeping up with the playoffs, watching, it was almost like the perfect storm colliding. I was hoping that y'all would get by both those teams. So we got the matchup, and lo and behold, we did.
Yep.
Which, so what Quinn was out the Duncanville game, correct?
No, he played. He missed their first playoff game.
Okay.
And then he played all the rest of it. But he missed like the last 4 district games, I think. And then the first playoff, I think he missed like 5 games.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And then Casey banged up too, I believe. Sorry, Jake.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
So you kind of hit on it already, Coach. And I just kind of want to go a little deeper on that. So what was the household dynamics, week of that state championship game and after, right? So, I mean, that's gotta be something, right? And then your mom or your wife, his mom, is in the middle. We got she got a lot of camera time because she was wearing the split uniform, right? I think she was wearing the Westlake cap or the Southlake cap and the Westlake shirt.
Right.
So she was on the broadcast quite a bit. How was that? Is he allowed over for dinner now? Or are you allowed over for dinner now? How's that work?
We actually, if y'all can imagine this, guys, when's the last time that 2 guys met for a state championship game? Somebody's got to win. And that whole family, the guy on one side's family and the guy on the other side's family meet for Christmas 5 days later. It's been Christmas. That's another thing that's probably never happened. So no, I am so proud of my son. Matter of fact, during the week, people would ask me, well, what are you going to feel when you look across the field and you see the coach on the other side? I said, well, I'm not going to feel anything because I don't ever look over on the other side of the field. And I mean, I don't ever remember myself looking at the head coach of the other team. That's just not something I do. I said, I won't do it in the state championship game, but I found myself doing it, and to be honest with you, they were early in the game, they were kind of lighting us up, and I was, kind of, there was a moment there was a proud papa in me saying, you go, boy, and do your thing. Now we were able to get all that under control and end up winning the game. But, it was very, for Elizabeth, it was a tough time, a tough week, just from the standpoint of the, where your allegiance is, and, she just said all week long, she was not going to have a bad day. It was going to be a good day for her. And another interesting, Riley and I, actually, we were out, as y'all were talking about, we were out the Elite 11 and we got a chance to play some golf together. And it was one of the best days of my year. This was about a week ago. But we remember people would ask, well, this is a win-win for the Dodge family. They tell Riley that and they tell me that. And both of us would go, no, it's not. It's not a win-win for either one of us. I want to win and Riley wants to win. And our charge is to lead our team to a win against whoever we're playing. And so that was always an interesting deal.
How'd the kids like it? How'd they feel about that?
My grandsons?
No, your players and his players.
Oh, they loved it. I mean, they were, I think our kids, both of our groups of kids understand they're little historians of Texas high school football. They both know at Westlake and at Southlake what their place is in Texas high school football history, and they take pride in that, and they feel honored to be a part of that. But they, our 2 groups of kids were pretty excited, first of all, to be playing for a state championship and have beaten 2 of the best teams in the nation, but also to be a part of history that it's the first time that a father and son's teams had ever met in a state championship game. So that they were, I mean, that added a little bit of extra juice to both teams, I think.
Yeah.
There was a lot of energy in that stadium.
Oh, yeah.
Kickoff. And there's an unbelievable amount of talent on that field. When I was sitting there thinking about today, I thinking back on that game, right? And,
Yep.
Obviously Taffy from Westlake stood out to me. That was probably my biggest, I guess surprise, or, you don't get much tabs on him, right? You think of Cade when you think of Westlake this past year. And he had an amazing game. Cade, obviously, for me, that was like not coming out party, but to me, he blew the doors off for what he was compared to. When I saw him in person, he was, and it seems like he gets better and better each time. He like Elite 11 last week. He blew me away on the Elite 11 stage, watching the Instagram videos and just all the write-ups he's had since state. It seems like he just gets better and better, and that ranking just keeps getting higher. So, and obviously Riley had Quinn, and it was interesting getting to watch Riley coach a young quarterback of Quinn's stature. So there was just a lot of good things from that game. And then obviously there was a big, I noticed a big emotional bond with you and Cade as soon as that last second ticked off. Obviously there's a strong connection there.
Yeah. Well, I've known, Cade, I've been here 8 years and known Cade since he was in the 5th grade. My wife, Elizabeth, taught him when he was in 5th grade. He was in her class. And it was funny when, about midway through that first year, she came, she says, I don't know how long you plan on us being here. She said, but you probably need to wait for this 5th grade bunch to get through, because they're very talented and they're led by this young kid named Cade Klubnik. He said, and he can, so my wife had a really good eye for talent. And, but his older brother was a great player for us in my first 2 years, and got to know the family. And, Cade is, he was part of our three quarterback system in the state championship. So he was a large part of our 2019 state championship, and really part of that plan to play 3 quarterbacks in 2019 was to do exactly what we did, is to bring an experienced quarterback and hopefully really make a run. Because I thought going into the 2019 season, I felt like if we were going to win one in a 2-year period, I thought it would be 2020. I didn't necessarily think it would be 2019. And I felt like we needed to make sure we had a quarterback going into that that was going to be experienced. And fortunately, we've been able to win them in both years.
So we had something lined up here. I want to change it up a little bit. We'll go to that in a little bit. So quarterback development, you obviously coached a lot of them, and you're mentioning the most recent one right now, who's Cade, and who, like Justin said, went lights out at that Elite 11. We kept up with it while we were at work during the free time, and just seeing the write-ups and seeing the videos of everything that was happening last week. What is, how do you go about identifying your future quarterbacks? What are you looking for? What advice would you give coaches?
His wife finds him.
His wife finds him, I guess. But know what?
We have been we've been doing our quarterback training system all the way back to when I coached for Ron Poe at McKinney High School back in the late 80s. But what we do is when our kids are in 7th grade, I think we've all seen this, that 7th grade quarterback that everybody has known that's going to be great. He's bigger than everybody else. He's faster than everybody else. He's got a stronger arm than everybody else. He's just a stud athlete in the 7th grade. And everybody says, okay, here's going to be the guy. And they play that guy, and they never make any attention to anybody else. And then all of a sudden you get to 9th grade and that guy stops growing, or he decides to go straight baseball, or he decides to move somewhere else, or whatever. Well, our philosophy is to train, we have 2 middle schools. We're going to have 4 quarterbacks at one middle school and 4 quarterbacks at the other middle school. We're going to play 8 quarterbacks during their 7th grade year. We're going to reduce that to 6 during their 8th grade year. We're going to reduce that to 4 during their 9th grade year, 2 as sophomores. So the means to the madness is that we're constantly training quarterbacks as we go through. And, Cade's been a part of that system as we've gone through. And the one thing that we try to never have happen is for us to go into a season and we we're not able to maximize our potential because we didn't have a functional, well-coached, accurate quarterback. And so that's, during the month of February, all of our quarterbacks are at the high school level are taken out of the regular off season. I put them through a month-long quarterback development program, which entails classroom, a video study, breaking down a video from the year before. It entails learning how to read coverages and dissect coverages. It's about leadership. It's about toughness. It's all about the intangibles, and then it's a lot of accuracy and a lot of footwork. So as we've gone through the years, and there at South Lake Carroll and at Westlake, we've been at the combination of the two of those. This will be our 15th year, and we've won 6 state championships at those places together. We've had 6 different guys quarterback a state championship team, and that was my talk last. But really, when it comes down to it, is making sure that our quarterbacks, as they come into the 9th grade, that they want to be a quarterback. I don't want anybody playing quarterback for us that doesn't understand the pressure that's going to be put on them, and people always say, and I think it's very true, there's 2 people in a program that get way too much blame, and that's the head football coach and the quarterback, and there's two people that get way too much credit, and that's the head football coach and the quarterback. And so it's even tougher nowadays to develop quarterbacks from that standpoint, from a mental standpoint, because they got those they got that iPhone that they can listen to all these outside stuff, and a lot of it's really good stuff. A lot of it's really positive about them, but they really don't need to be listening to that, because on the flip side of things is they're going to be told as soon as their team loses a game, they're going to be, treated like a bum, and so, Cade understands that. And I'm really proud of him, the way that he's grown, and really proud of him in the recruiting process. This past season, he had 25 plus offers going into his junior year. I mean, it's crazy. And he did not let it get in the way of us winning a championship.
So you kind of, oh, go ahead, Justin.
That program that you'll have with the quarterbacks is good also, because the guys that are getting weeded out, not so much that they're not a good quarterback, but you have guys that are, obviously doing a little bit more, like Cade himself, right? Now you're getting other guys on the team that understand what's going on as well. So whether you're sending in a receiver, or maybe they get shifted into the secondary, because obviously they're skill guys, right? Or maybe possible running backs. But I mean, that's a great way, as you're weeding them out, you're getting guys that have good football IQ all across the field now, and kind of understand what that quarterback's seeing. So, that's
a good example of that. When Sam Ellinger was, when we got here, there was a three-man race for the quarterback job. It was a rising sophomore, Sam Ellinger, a rising junior, Reed Klubnik, that's Cade's older brother, and a rising junior, Max Mangum. Well, Sam won the job going into his sophomore year. With those other 2, one of them went to safety, and the other went to wide receiver. Well, the guy that went to safety was a 2-time first-team All-District safety for us, and on a state championship finalist. And the other guy is now the all-time leading receiver in the history of Westlake football. So they train through the position quarterback, and then they move somewhere else to help our team. And I think that makes them even a better player as they go to another position.
Oh, definitely. And I'm sure the colleges love, Clemson, for example, the program you put Cade through, he's breaking down film. He's learning how to dissect coverages and defenses, and, probably audibles and whatnot like that. That's, when you really look at it from a whole, like, that's not a lot of programs do that type of coaching. Yeah. They coach their quarterbacks, but not to that extent, it seems like. I mean, you're one of the first ones in the high school level that we've talked to, at least.
I'd like to think that they're very prepared when they go the next level. He calls all the protections. That's something that at the college level is pretty much you have to, obviously, at the professional level. But It's not very common at the high school level, but we do have our quarterback calling protections, and it's not necessarily for just say we're getting them ready. I mean, we don't like to think of ourselves. We're not a football factory. We want to be as good as we possibly could be in Texas high school football. I think it's the greatest high school football in the country is played right here in our state. So we need to be really good. We need to be very efficient. So we have our kids call the protections because it's the best thing for us, not necessarily to get them ready for the next level, but it sure does help them when they're asked to do that at the next level.
Was Sam able to come in and kind of mentor Cade a little bit through the process? While he was there in Austin, he's on UT, and Cade,
I absolutely believe that they kept in touch with each other. As we went through, Cade's, I guess 3 or 4 years younger than Sam. I guess he's 3 years younger than Sam, but yeah, I mean, Sam is definitely somebody Cade looks up to, and it's been pretty special. Over the course of the time that we've been here, we have Cade, and we have Sam. Sam's now with the Colts, and Cade's going to Clemson. And the winningest high school the winningest quarterback in the history of Westlake football is a guy named Taylor Anderson. And everybody that ever followed Westlake football would go, who? And it's not Drew Brees, it's not Nick Foles, it's not Sam Ellinger, and it's not, it's a little 5'11", 165-pound baller, named. And I think that's another thing that's kind of a testament to our quarterback training system, is that Taylor was a 7th grade B team quarterback, 8th grade B team quarterback, 9th grade B team quarterback. Sophomore year, he ends up being the starter in about 9 games because Sam Ellinger went down, and then he quarterbacks us the 17 and 18 season to the semifinals, and in both situations, about a total of about 8 points away from going to state championships in those years. And so, as proud as I am of the ones that go on to play at the college level, I'm equally proud of the ones that won a whole lot of games for us. He's, and Taylor's now going to school at Texas A&M and getting a great college life, but he's not playing college football.
See, I was curious where he went because we were talking about it today, right? And I said, after Sam, it was Taylor. I got to watch y'all play Smithson Valley with Taylor. And you're right, he little guy, but I was telling Jacob, was like, it wasn't so much that he was just blowing me away with his throws, but he was just tough. He ran tough. He made smart plays. And then we were talking about, and it starts with an M.
Misha.
Yep. And then, what's funny is the year we met y'all came down, and was it 18, Jacob, right? That was
18.
That was the first time we had the interview. It was Boomer Collins who was telling us he was talking about Cade, Misham, but what he really said, that stood out to me was the most, is that when Cade comes, when he puts it all together, he's going to be one of the best ones we've had in a long time, and he's proven that. But getting to watch Taylor, he was super impressive when we got to see him in person. So
let's go kind of take our step back now. So talking about Cade and everything that he's been doing for you, how many kids have you put through this Elite 11 combine type thing? I know it's only been around a few years, not hasn't been around for 20, but what's
the 4th.
What's this experience been like for you and him?
Yeah, so much fun. I mean, it's a neat deal for these kids. They work their tails off, and for them to have a chance to get to get a chance to go out with the best of the best and to compete. Cade is I've had Chase Daniel. He's the first one. He's now the backup quarterback with the Los Angeles Chargers. The second one was Greg McElroy, that later quarterbacked Alabama to a national championship. Then my son Riley, then Sam Ellinger, and now Cade Klubman. And so we've had 5 through the years that have gone to the Elite 11 finals. And there's a little bit of proud papa feeling about all of them. Yeah, I had never gone out there before to watch it until this time, and it was a lot of fun watching. Riley was out there with me because
Quinn was there. Yeah,
Quinn was there, and so we were really proud of both of them. And Cade, ended up getting the MVP, and I think Quinn was like third. But the quarterbacks there were 4 quarterbacks from Texas, and they were all like in the top 7. So the state of Texas really showed out well there at the Elite 11. But it was just the amount of talent. And then they bring in all the wide receivers, defensive backs, tight ends, running backs from the opening, and they set up these put together 7-on-7 teams. Wow.
I bet that was something to watch.
How did they doing that? I didn't see any of the results on that.
Yeah, what they do is on one night they basically had 4 teams. They put 4 teams together, so they have a round robin of and then the top 2 teams out of that round robin play each other for a championship the next day. Cade's team won that also, but they have like so there's 4 teams. There's 20 quarterbacks out at the Elite 11. It's 20. So they have 5 quarterbacks on each team, and they're guaranteed. I guess they're guaranteed like 4 games over a 2-day period. And so they play each quarterback like about a 15-minute intervals, so that because they're actually evaluating the quarterbacks through this 7-on-7 stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, there's a lot of drills that we were watching them do that I'm sure, I mean, obviously y'all do some too, but I mean, it's always good to get to watch from an outer perspective of it. And some of them throws they were making, it was incredible. That's one thing I guess about the technical world nowadays is, you get to look in and see stuff like that where,
yes,
15, 20 years ago, you couldn't, because, Elite 11's been around, I think, since the 90s. Because I was looking at some old stats on that. Because if you go to elite11.com, they'll show you the previous results and whatnot. And it's just neat, the world we live in now. You're able to watch these kids perform.
Yeah.
I mean, it's right up close and personal. You're listening to Coach Whitfield talk to him, and he's a great quarterback coach. And
he is.
I bet that was probably pretty fun experience.
It was a great experience.
So with that, Coach, let's and we've hit on a lot of it already. So you've got this camp next week, starting Monday at Gregory-Portland High School. What are these kids in store for?
Well, they are in store for, first of all, some outstanding coaching, a coaching staff that has, the guys that are working our camp are experts in what they do in the quarterback and wide receiver world. We have a blueprint. This is 29th year that we've done this camp. We did the one in Austin back on the 1st, 2nd, 3rd of June. It's a 2.5-hour a day camp, and we break it down into about 45-minute intervals. So if the 3 of us and 5 other guys were in a group of 8 quarterbacks, we're going to spend the first 45 minutes together with a quarterback coach, and we're going to go through a series of drills that we're going to be working on our footwork. We're going to be working on our pocket presence. We're going to be working on all the drops that we're going to teach in the camp. We're going to be working on reading defenders, setting up triangle situations where we're reading a defender to actually make a throw to the correct place. We're all going to get some leadership talk. And then the next 45 minutes, we're going to come together with quarterbacks and wide receivers together, and it's going to be like 8 quarterbacks and 10 wide receivers, and they're going to all be in a group, and they're going to go from station to station, throwing different pass routes every 5 minutes, and we're going to be throwing a stop route for 5 minutes. Okay, and then we're going to rotate to a slant route. Then we're going to rotate to a fade route. Then the 4th rotation be to like a speed cut out by an inside receiver. After that rotation, we're going to go to drop back stuff, and we're going to throw curls, and we're going to throw glance routes or skinny posts. We're going to throw post corner routes. We're going to throw smash routes at, the corner route by the inside receiver. We're going to run middle of field beater routes, square ends. and we're going to apply all the drops that we've learned in the first 45 minutes there. And then the last about 35 minutes a day, we're going to put them in teams, and they're going to work route competition, and they're going to compete, see what team can complete the most passes versus air. And so that's what we're going to do. And we're not, I mean, I always tell people all the time, when they come to my camp, there's going to be a 1 to 10 coach to athlete ratio. You're not going to have a bunch of kids standing around. You're not going to get an autograph box from anybody that means anything. You're not going to go horseback riding. You're not going to be playing. You're not going to go swimming. You're not going to play 7-on-7 football. You're going to work, and you're going to learn what it means for a quarterback and wide receiver unit to spend time together. And that's the thing that through the years, it's not a quarterback camp and it's not a football, it's a quarterback wide receiver camp. And I played for a guy 40 years ago at Port Arthur Thomas Jefferson named Ronnie Thompson. He was the very best about putting together that quarterback wide receiver unit. And that's probably the best thing that he ever instilled in me. And that's what I've been trying to instill in players and young coaches all throughout my career. And and we're going to have a great time. I'm looking forward. Of course, Coach Rhodes had been out there, and Coach Rhodes is a dear friend of mine and allowed us to start it. Brent Davis is a dear friend of mine. I was very fortunate that the next guy at GP is a guy that's a friend of mine. And it was then, of course, Greg Winder, the new offense coordinator. I've known him forever. And so there's going to be 4 coaches from GP that are going to be working the camp, and there's going to be 5 coaches coming from Westlake. A couple other guys from outside of those 2 programs, and we're going to have right now we got about 100 kids rising 5th through 12th grade. You can go to ToddDodgeFootballCamp.com and still register, or you can be a walk-up at 8:30 on Monday morning there at Gregory-Portland's gymnasium is where we're going to have registration, and we're going to have the camp there at Ray Akins Stadium. And the one thing is we're going to have a good time. The ball's going to be flying around. Kids are going to be having a good time. And my coaching staff and I love it because we coach ball in the morning, and we go Port Aransas in the afternoon and go fishing or play golf.
Yeah. I can't complain about that. You're harping that it's not a quarterback camp. And one of the things that Justin and I we're really impressed with is the year in 2018 we went, you had that group from Windthorst.
Yes.
That went down there because they missed the Austin camp, and
Yep.
They came all the way down. I think they got the furthest travel award. They got a shout out for that. And last year, who won the state championship? 2A, small 2A. Windthorst.
I tell you what, those guys have been coming to camp. That quarterback for them has been at camp since he was in 6th grade, and to sit there and watch them. Of course, they won their state championship about 3 weeks before ours even came about.
Yeah. And
so we were all in, and they'll be back. The Windthorst boys will be back this year also. It's going to be a good bunch, But and that's the thing I tell those kids when when we have a chance to spend 3 days with a group of kids from Ganado, obviously kids from GP, kids from all over the Coastal Bend area. I feel invested, and I'm going to keep up with those kids through the rest of their career, and it's a lot of fun.
Well, when we went to that camp, y'all had a really good turnout that year, but 100 kids seems like that's a step up from 18 when we got to see it. And last year with COVID, we didn't get a chance to make it out there and whatnot. But I mean, it seems like it's starting to build a little more momentum down here in the Coastal Bend, and that's one thing I was worried about. I was worried about the camp not coming back whenever Coach Rhodes went back to Yo, and when we saw that it was coming back to town, I was happy because a lot of these kids down here, and we talk about all the time, is they need to start getting exposed to camps, and they need to start doing camps like this and getting to competition and doing the off-season training, because we're a big baseball area down here, and you see it in baseball, but our football kids, they seem to almost suffer a little bit from the fact of not doing camps like this, and this is a big one.
Yep.
So for us to have that kind of camp and this presence in the off-season is huge for our kids here.
The one thing that ours is, I've never had a camp where we're gonna, it's a 3-day camp. It's 2.5 hours a day. like I tell the kids, that we're going to work in about 15-minute intervals. We're going to work hard. We're going to water you up, and we're going to go back to work. The other thing is with quarterbacks and wide receivers, if a quarterback and a wide receiver from the same school come, we're going to make sure they stay together. And that's been a calling card of our camp throughout the years. We're going to make sure that they get those reps together along with some other groups. And to me, that's ridiculous to bring a quarterback and receiver to camp and not have them get reps together. So we make sure that happens. And so hopefully, we invite everybody in the Coastal Bend to come out. If you're just interested in high school football and want to come check it out, you're welcome to come watch.
Yeah, I've got a couple friends who've got some younger kids that are too young to get into the camp, but I was like, you know what? Go anyways as an adult and go watch this thing and see what they're putting these kids through. Take it back and work with your youngsters.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't have to have a kid to go through it, especially if you want kids to get better. If you're a youth football coach or whatever, take some of this information with you and work with your kids. I mean, I try to stress that to as many people as I can, especially if they have kids that aren't old enough to go, because you're going to get something out of it. Like you said, you're going to learn something.
Oh, definitely.
Well, we are, extremely excited to come back, and with it worked out really well for me that Brent got the job, because I've known Brent for a long time. I've known Greg Winder for a long time, and so that worked out great. And so we're gonna, I've been talking with those folks all day long today, and Boomer's coming back with me. He doesn't coach with me anymore. Riley stole him away from me.
Yeah, we were talking about that also.
Told you.
Yeah, and just Dustin Wiesinger, who came a couple times ago, he came, and of course Tony Salazar, my DC, he's going to be with us, and Tony's going to be coaching wide receivers like he always does at the camp. He's a fabulous coach. And then Coach, the coaches from GP are going to Coach Davis's son Richard's going to be working, and Coach Alexander, Coach Buzzard, all these guys are going to be working the camp. And Coach Josh from Ganado is going to be working the camp, and we're gonna have 11 coaches working it. So looking forward to it, man. And so any moms and dads want your kid to come camp, rising 5th through 12th graders. I promise you high school guys, if a quarterback and 3 or 4 receivers come to camp, we're going to keep you all together. You're going to get great reps together.
Well, that's a good deal, Coach.
We witnessed it a couple of years ago. I mean, it's all true. So. Yeah,
it's definitely worth it. It's definitely worth the price of admission, like folks say.
It's not too late. It's not too late for a walk up either. If you haven't signed up yet, you want to just show up at GP. They're on Wildcat Drive at 8:30. About 8:30 be good. We get started at 9 on Monday morning. You can go ahead and sign up, and so.
I believe y'all are right there in the Shirley Row entrance to the gym. Right.
That's
right.
Right.
Shirley Row. So real easy to find. It's the newer gym. It's super easy to find.
Yep.
Hey, we'll come prepared to work, folks. If you guys come out here, guys, be ready to work. Coach, thanks again for your time. I know you're a busy man, especially the weekend. It's Friday right before your camp.
Man.
I know you're going to be heading down here pretty soon. But thank you for your time, Coach. It's always a pleasure talking to you. We appreciate it.
God bless y'all. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate you. Hope to see y'all when we get to Corpus. Take care.
You too, Coach. Thank you.
All right. Thanks. Bye, guys.
Take it easy, Coach.
Thank y'all. Appreciate you so much.
Sir.
All right.
Trying to stop the recording. Oh, there it is.